If you're a small business owner, you'll know just what it's like to be the chief everything officer. HR, payroll, employee benefits. Well, Gusto can do all of that for you. Gusto is online payroll and benefits software built for small businesses. It's all in one, remote friendly, and incredibly easy to use. It's quick and simple to switch to Gusto. Just transfer your existing data to get up and running fast. Try Gusto today at gusto.com/lockedonsoccer and get 3 months free when you run your first payroll. That's gusto.com/lockedonsoccer.
The world's biggest soccer tournament has arrived, and you can trade the entire tournament on Kalshi. On Kalshi, you can trade every match from the opening stage all the way to the final. On Kalshi, you're trading against peers in a live market, meaning there's no house. And as the probability changes, you can buy in and out of your position. For a limited time, download the Kalshi app and use code CUP26 to get $10 when you trade 10. KALSHI Kalshi. Trade the beautiful game. 18 plus only. Restrictions and eligibility requirements apply. Event contract trading involves risk and may not be suitable for all investors. Prices, values, and available markets may differ from those mentioned. For more information, see kalshi.com/regulatory.
Hello everyone, I'm Chris Wynn and welcome to How the Podcast, and welcome to another edition of our version of Room 101, because we did this during the last international break in March, and here we are in the middle of the World Cup. So we might have a couple of little World Cup specific items in this part to celebrate that fact. But I'm sure most of our listeners will know the drill by now. But if you haven't listened to our previous episodes or seen the TV show that was presented by Frank Skinner most recently, our guests today will raise their football pet hates in the hope that I consign them to Room 101 and rid them from the game forever. But because we haven't done one for a while, we have two gentlemen today who have been stewing on all of their pet hates for months. So they will be itching to get a few things off their chest. And first up, we have Johnny Hawley. Hello, Johnny.
Hello, Chris. Yeah, stewing is the word. I've been, fermenting these at the back of my mind over the course of these long, lonely months with no outlet to vent my frustrations into. So I am ready and raring to go.
It's Sunderland haven't even been crap, so you haven't been able to vent frustration on that either for once. But yeah, I'm surprised.
It's only safe to say that because the season is finished now as well. So you can't possibly tempt fate there.
Yeah, you can take your anger out that there's only the World Cup to watch now. But yeah, I'm surprised you're back after last time, Johnny.
Well, I've got a score to settle now, don't I, Chris? So I've got you squarely in my sights this time. You're going to be putting these into this room, I'm telling you.
Well, I can tell that actually that you've got a score to settle, because you've picked some good ones. So actually, might find it a little bit difficult to keep them out of Room 101. But next up, to go head to head with Johnny, we have Andrew Smithson. Hello, Andrew.
Hello. All right, lads. This is, just to check, this is football frustrations. Because when you're talking about stewing and scores to settle and that, I'm thinking, was I meant to be like bringing some things from my personal life? Because we can go down that route if you want. I am more than ready.
To be fair, we should have really hit record 20 minutes earlier, because that would have been that, really, wouldn't it?
It would also have been our final podcast ever. Before How the Podcast gets shut down in disgrace. Like,
I did have a conversation about my kids adamantly telling me that I'm wrong about something, when you know that you're absolutely right, and you know more about them, about life in general, and they're absolutely 100% wrong. But they'll only believe you, Andrew, when you bring technology into it.
I know exactly where you're coming from. My fear now is I might win this episode of Room 101, but then when I leave this room to go into the house, the wife and kids have left us. Because the things we were saying beforehand were I don't think AI or Google would have got me out of that particular fix.
Yeah, but Johnny's keeping very quiet right now. But I'm sure, years down the line, Andrew, Johnny will think of this conversation and go, "Oh, bloody hell, yeah. I know what they were talking about now." But yeah, I was going to say, Andrew, we're talking about Johnny's picks, but you must surely know the method to get things into Room 101 by now.
Well, I wonder if one of my options might pull at your heartstrings. I'm planning to go in heavy on one of them. You're you're a nice man, Chris, but when it comes to Room 101, we see a different side of you. You're not for turning, put it that way.
Well, as you pointed out, I just build up all my frustrations around everything in life and take it out when we when we do these Room 101s. But yeah, anyway. But like I said, you both picked some really good ones. I'm just looking at the list now, and I am going to find it difficult to keep some of these out of Room 101. So I will try my best to have an alternative view on them, but I'm struggling at the minute. But anyway, gents, we'll do this across 2 podcasts. So this is part 1, and we'll have 3 rounds, so it's best of 3. And let's face it, look, we're going to get some pelters for the ones that you pick, and once again, I'm going to get pelters for either keeping them out or sticking them into Room 101. Someone's going to find a reason why I should have kept it out or stuck it in. Anyway, but round 1, and Jonny started.
I'm blaming you for that one, Chris.
Yeah, no, I realised as soon as I said it. But anyway, let's move on. Round 1. Let's start. We're going to do World Cup picks in part 1. So let's make this our World Cup edition. And let's start with you, Jonny.
Yes, so my World Cup themed pick for Room 101, something that should be cast into the proverbial fires of Mount Doom forever, is the English media during a World Cup. I mean, where do you even start? Like the whole lot, it's all rotten to the core. They need to go. But I think the main thing, the number one aspect of it, which really grinds my gears in a World Cup, is they cannot wait to be the first one. They're falling all over themselves. All these top journalists rushing to be the first one to get the copy into the Redditor to leak our team news before the games. Every single World Cup, every single match, 2 or 3 days out, the Times, the Daily Mail, the Sun, the Guardian, whatever, websites, newspapers, Sky Sports News, the lot.
Ooh, he's bringing the broadsheets into it, Ian.
Oh, hey,
Serious.
Nobody is free from my ire with this one, Chris. From Henry Winter all the way down. They can't wait to leak the team news. Why? Why do we... Okay, negativity and bad stories and talking England down, we'll get to that. That's all one thing. But leaking the team is just directly giving a competitive advantage to our opponent. Every game. Why? What are you doing? You're English. You literally support this team. Whose idea was this? Where did it start? Who do I need to sharpen my pitchfork and pay a visit to? Because this practice needs to stop. And that is, as I say, without even going into the swathe of negativity that will wash over the English public in either the immediate few days before the first game or the immediate few days after, depending on how disappointing of a goalless draw we get with Croatia. You know, whether we've created a few chances or whether we've looked totally toothless. You know, then after half an hour, it'll be, well, Harry Kane's not going to score a single goal all tournament, and John Stones' hamstring is going to go in 45 seconds, and Reece James can't remember how to kick a football because he's not played 90 minutes since March, or, you know, Jordan Pickford's got small arms, whatever it is. You can guarantee that's going to be every front page, every website, you know, headline article, every radio station, every TV station. It's going to be all over it. Talking England down. Jude Bellingham's arrogant. You know, Thomas Tuchel's German. We get it, guys. We've known that for a while, actually, thanks. We don't need to be told multiple times a week in the build-up to the biggest tournament in these players' and managers' career. Can we all get a grip, right, with the English media? And just remember that we'd all quite like England to win, actually. You know, it'd be pretty good, wouldn't it? We'd all get to enjoy it. It would be pretty nice. We're allowed to have nice things, aren't we? So let's start acting like it, get behind the team, and stop leaking the bloody team news. Finn.
Okay. Feelings are pretty strong on that one, Jonny. So I'm going to start off, first question, straight out of the bat. Because actually, I'm genuinely interested to hear what you think about this, because I've wondered about this for a long time. Are we, in this one, are we specifically talking, because you mentioned you're out of the newspapers there, are we specifically talking about newspapers, is the first question. And if so, are they still relevant?
That's a good question. I think they are still relevant. I think they are still relevant, and I would say it's definitely the newspaper culture, if you know what I mean, with regards to the football reporting. They're the ones who drove initially particularly the leaking of the team news. You know, that's a very newspaper thing where on the back pages, you'd have the spreads before the games. It'll be, here's the predicted lineup. And, coincidentally, the predicted lineup just happens to exactly match the real lineup that does play because somebody's got loose lips. So I think they're the ones they were ground zero for it. And I do still think, even though the media landscape's diversified to the point where your average younger football fan isn't going, I cannot wait to buy the Sunday papers and see what they're saying about the football. I think they still inform quite a lot of the main football watching public that will engage with an international tournament. We all know what it's like, right? You know, summer comes round every couple of years, whether it's a Euros or a World Cup, everybody starts getting involved. And that means you have to listen to a lot of very interesting opinions about football that you wouldn't normally be subject to. Those kind of people are getting those kind of opinions from the papers, maybe from the radio, listening to it in the car on the way to work. So even though they're not the number one undisputed top dogs in town anymore, I still think they've got a pretty big role to play.
Talk about biting the hand that feeds you here, Johnny. I mean, you're like one of Sunderland's most well-known voices. You're across all forms of media. Is this not just a personal dispute because you've lost your column in one of the papers or something like that?
Yeah, but I've got plausible deniability, Andrew, because I listed all the newspapers I could think of, you see.
Right.
So that way I'm getting round it. But the papers still have an undue amount of influence, even in 2026, I think, because they still have that weird sheen of legitimacy that I don't think you have that even from a Sky Sports News. They're probably the biggest TV sports news providers. I mean, the clue's in the name, Sky Sports News. But even they've sort of been superseded by Fabrizio Romano on transfer news. Nobody goes to Sky now to check who's getting transfers. They load up social media, or they go and check the number one internet site or whatever. But for whatever reason, the opinion economy
site. That sounds like when you're making a film and you've not got the rights to use Google, so they're using whatpage.com or something.
Yeah, they load up 123sportsnews.com. Yeah. Or sportsnews.az.ie. Anyway, we'll not start giving out pirate sites URLs. We'll get shut down for that. But I think in the opinion sphere, I do think the broadsheets do have a strange kind of. They still hold a lot of sway over the British football public, which is a lot of it's just rooted in tradition, innit? Because they were the ones they were the voices for a long time, and now we see where they've led us, and I would argue it's not the most positive location.
But what I would ask was, who buys newspapers now? Who buys newspapers, and who goes online to read, goes onto a newspaper website to read the sports from a newspaper? I mean, do people still do that?
I think casuals do. People who aren't really into football, but will get really into a World Cup because everyone's in it together and we'll all go to the pub and watch the football. They're not discerning between their sources of sports media because they don't care. You know what I mean? They're just like, oh, well, I'm buying a paper. Oh, the World Cup's on. Oh, I wonder what they're saying about England in the sports section. And there's, as much as football is the number one sport, there's a lot more of those people than I think we would care to admit, possibly from we're the equivalent of what is it, the Metropolitan elite bubble, the Westminster elite bubble in London. We're that but for football. We're in the we're in the 1% of football freaks who are like, no, I can't possibly listen to Sky Sports News. They don't know what they're talking about. But David Ornstein and Fabrizio Romano, they're the guys.
Can I
these
distance myself, please, from these comments, Johnny? I don't want to claim to be from the metropolitan elite of sports. I tell you who.
the analogies kind of got lost in the sauce a bit there somewhere, I think.
I tell you who does read the papers, Chris. You've asked the question there. Quite clearly, scouts from foreign football authorities who were then feeding the information back. This is what's upsetting Johnny. He was at his newsagents this morning, and he saw a representative from the
A
Croatian.
fella in a Croatia tracksuit was
Yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, so we're talking specifically during World Cups, Johnny, because
Yes.
Just at that period, because I am slightly disappointed because when you vaguely sent me the line, I would just remember my my days at university, just generally about the British media, and a mate of mine who was in the next room at university, he a mate of mine daily, he would buy the Daily Sport every single day, and would always, of course, would buy it. He'd buy it only purely to look at the daft headlines that they had. But just to read a few of those, Hitler was a woman. Aliens turned our sun into a fish finger. Donkey robs bank. Satan rises from oil rig. 62 stone German porn star, and that was it. That was the headline.
Can you link us the article for that last one, please?
Bus found buried at South Pole. And Second World War bomber found on the moon. Statue of Elvis found on Mars. And Lord Lucan spotted riding Shergar. But
What's Bomber doing on the moon? Is he looking for Patrick Van Arnold up there? Like, or
say, when I was trying to think of good things about the English media, that's about the only thing I could think of. If I'm completely honest. But you're talking about team selections, Johnny. I mean, I'll go back to and I'm pretty sure there's a documentary on it, but I might be wrong. There might just been like a World Cup 1990 documentary. But I remember before then, there was a big hoo-ha between the England squad, Bobby Robson, and the British media then, because Bobby Robson had announced he was going. Now, they hammered him before then. They were, I think we got beat off Saudi Arabia, I think, in a couple of years earlier, and they were telling him to go then. And it ended up with this thing on the training ground where the players were ripping up papers and things on the training ground in front of the British media. And then you've got 1996 with the trip to Hong Kong, I think it was.
the good old dentist chair.
Yeah, the dentist's chair and all this. But that was kind of the week but leading up to the start of Euro 96. And yet, but being in their position with things like that, Johnny, if the media have got a choice to say, this is something we've got in, the players were doing this in the week before the Euro 96, are you saying something like that they would ignore and just not publish? Or do they have a duty to publish that?
Well, that's the thing is when you talk about a duty to publish, right? In a fantasy world where the media actually is performing a beneficial role to society, like they were originally intended to, you could maybe talk about the duty of care to the public and duty to inform and stuff like that. Do we actually believe that the media operates in any sort of fair and justified way, or are they just chasing clicks and money, the same as everybody else? Because I would argue that there is far more of the latter than there is the former. And so I don't really care if they get their clicks and money. I'd rather see our national football team go and do us proud and win a tournament. And I think a good way to help that is not to publish massively inflammatory stories on the back pages right on the eve of the tournament. Like, they're the English media at the end of the day, regardless of whether they like football as individual journalists or whatever. Surely, if they've got a duty to anything, they've got a duty to the country before they've got a duty to anything else.
I think it's maybe the fact that they revel in it almost.
Yes.
It's not should we report this story? Is it right that we make people aware of this? It's the fact that they love it. They fan the flames of it. And then when it goes wrong and then England fail, well, it's double bubble because they can then go in on them again, having been one of the ones who created the negative vibe in the first place. So I can see where you're coming from. And also on the subject of like name and team lineups and what have you, that does my head in when people do that with Sunderland. There was definitely times last season when word got out, so and so's injured, or this and that's happening. It does. I think it can impact a team.
And just cast your mind back as well to the playoffs at the end of the season just gone, and Southampton getting in a little spot of bother for trying, among other things, to spy on Borough to work out whether certain players were going to be fit and available to play in the game or not, which is exactly the information that the English media is broadcasting to millions of people for free. Why are we doing that? It was so bad when Southampton did it, they got kicked out the playoffs. But then the English media go, actually, that seems like a good idea. Let's do that to our own team. Come on, what are we doing here, lads?
Well, just a quick thing, almost last question on it. If they're doing this, Jonny, then surely they're doing it for a reason, because if they went negative and nobody bought the papers when they went negative, they wouldn't do it, because they're driven by sales. They're not driven by a want to write those stories. I think if a positive story sold more, would they not write more positive stories?
But unfortunately, the general prevailing public sentiment tends to be led by the media more often than it is followed by the media. So negative stories probably do sell more in isolation, all other things being equal. If you had two stories and somehow they were identical, except one's positive and one's negative, the negative one probably is going to do a bit better. Outrage drives more clicks and all the rest of it. But if there's a negative public sentiment towards the England national team, it's probably in large part because the media have created a negative sentiment towards the English national team. So a bit like Andrew said before, they're basically double dipping. They get to create the negativity, which drives the sales of their papers or, clicks on their website or eyeballs on the TV channel or whatever. And then they get the profit off because they've created a negative atmosphere. Well, now they can churn out negative stories and people are going to lap them up because that's what they've been conditioned to expect. We could live in a better world, Chris. We could. It's there for us, but
Oh no,
not the way that the media's run right now, unfortunately.
didn't realise this was a crusade to change the world. I'm feeling bad already.
It always is, Chris. It always is.
Bring you in on it, Andrew, because you, similar to me, you would have been kind of brought up on that era of Graham Taylor's reign as England manager. And, it was interesting actually when he did get older and he was part of the media. A lot of people kind of almost apologized to him the way they were at that time. And I mean, it did produce one of the best football documentaries you are ever probably going to see in that one, with Laurie McMenery getting the Oscar for best supporting role. But yeah, I mean, in that one, it had that fantastic scene as well, that press conference where, I don't know if you remember, Graham Taylor was telling them to cheer up just before the game against the Netherlands. And they were saying, but we don't trust you to win the game, and we're not very happy. And there was players in the background behind Graham Taylor almost laughing and not knowing what to make of it all. But so what do you make of Jonny trying to put the British media during World Cups and during tournaments into Room 101?
Oh, I'm backing his revolution all the way. You're right. The media could, not all aspects, but yeah, there's definitely a huge tranche of the media that almost enjoy negativity and spinning it. I remember Graham Taylor getting shocking abuse. I remember as well, didn't he do an advert for the Yellow Pages afterwards?
Yes.
With him and Bobby Robson?
Yeah, it was. Yeah.
Aye. I'd much rather just think of happier times like that at home watching adverts in my mum and dad's house than nowadays when, we're living in this bin fire of a society. But anyway, I'm in danger of wandering off topic. Yeah, where we're going with this? That was it. The media are a disgrace. Yeah. I can see exactly where Johnny's coming from. It's all this hand wringing and pearl clutching and all of this. And I've got a bit of a secret. I'm gonna blow the story, and everyone's gonna love me because I've got inside info. Oh man, do one.
Yeah.
Much more concisely put than I managed, Andrew. Very well done.
Yeah. Well, now we've done Johnny's first pick. Before we get into Andrew's, we'll have a quick break. So we'll be back very soon.
If your business runs on 5 different apps, 12 browser tabs, and one spreadsheet that everyone's afraid to touch, it's probably time for Odoo. Odoo is an all-in-one business management software that connects every part of your business into one powerful, easy-to-use platform. So instead of wasting time switching between disconnected systems, your entire business works together in real time. Your team moves faster, your data stays accurate, and you can actually focus on growing your business. Let one unified system run your entire business. From the first opportunity to the final payment, everything works together in one place. Whether you're a small business or managing a large operation, Odoo gives you one flexible platform built to grow with you. Learn more at odoo.com. That's ODOO.com.
I didn't think the pain from the shingles rash would affect simple, everyday tasks like bathing, getting dressed, or even walking around. I was wrong. Though not everyone at risk will develop it, 99% of people over the age of 50 already have the virus that causes shingles, and it could reactivate at any time. I developed it, and the blistering rash lasted for weeks. Don't learn the hard way, like I did. Talk to your doctor or pharmacist today. Sponsored by GSK.
And welcome back to How We're the Podcast. And we've gone through Johnny's first pick, which was the British media during World Cups or major tournaments, or let's just say at any time, really, because both of them turned into Hugh Grant's fan club and hating the British media during that first part. But the second part, we need to get into Andrew's World Cup picks. So I'll let you continue it, Andrew.
Cheers, Chris. Yeah, I do always forget how good Johnny is at this. Like when he was expressing his opinions earlier, it was a masterclass, and I do always think, oh man, I'm on a sticky wicket here. But
he goes a fantastic shade of red when when he
Yeah,
really
I'm
gets
eternally grateful that there's still not video podcasts at this point.
I think we should call him Johnny Gammon from now on. He's had every other nickname.
Well, what he didn't tell us is he got a subscription to the Daily Mail and that, and the Sunday Express for on a weekend as a treat.
Hey, lads, have you read this about Keir Starmer? He lives on the moon.
You big fan of the Daily Sport again, aren't you?
Yeah. Aye. Right. I'm now meant to be serious because this was I was hoping this would be a heavy hitting, dispatches style investigation into World Cup ticket prices and the shocking liberties FIFA are taking. I mean, this World Cup, I really could have picked anything. And listen, I've got no problem with people who want to enjoy this World Cup. I hope people do enjoy it. I've got so many concerns, so many questions. This could have just turned into like a proper diatribe of me whinging. But I'm gonna focus purely on ticket prices for people who are going to be in the stadiums and watch games in person. Give you a little bit of background, if I may. Euro 2024, which was the last major tournament we had, that was in Germany. Prices for tickets started at €30, which is about 25 quid. Obviously, the Euros is a different tournament, but if we go back to the Qatar World Cup, which I also had huge misgivings about, but that's for another day. The cheapest ticket for the final at the Qatar World Cup was 450 quid. Now that already is staggering. And yet for this World Cup, prices have multiplied several times over. And now the least expensive ticket you can get for the final is going to cost you 3,119 quid, which is staggering. And just to rub salt in the wounds, that is described as the supporter value tier. If you want to go into the standard or premium, you're paying even more. So, people might say, listen, that's the final. It's a prestige event. You're going to pay a bit more. Fair enough. So I've had a look at some of the other prices. We were told originally that the minimum you'd pay for a group game would be 44 quid, which, okay, not too bad. But FIFA introduced variable pricing, which is apparently different to dynamic pricing, but along similar lines.
Yeah, it's different because it's got a different name.
Well, yeah. I looked at it and I genuinely struggled to differentiate between the two. But it means you've got no set idea, no set price of what you're going to pay. I really struggle to find any official confirmation of even roughly what you're paying, what you're going to be paying. And this is even like the low priority group games. Loads of contradicting information. You've got fans saying they were successful in ballots for tickets, but weren't told how much they were going to be charged, which is ludicrous. The USA's opener against Paraguay, it looks, and all right, there was a pre-game opening ceremony as well, but it looks as if you were paying around 800 quid for a ticket at that match, give or take. It's scandalous. The FIFA, for some reason, and this is a bizarre thing for them to have said, but they promised us that tickets would sell out for the tournament. Well, if they're having to make those promises, that suggests to me straight away they know something's not quite right. I've got a few selected highlights here of just some random group games I've picked out and what you'd be looking to pay to go and watch them. Qatar v Switzerland, which was on at the weekend. Now, I know you get to see the beautiful Granit Xhaka, and we'd all happily pay over the odds for that. But if you went on an official resale site for that, you were looking at about 236 quid. That's not hospitality, by the way, or a high category. That is your bog standard seat. Jordan v Algeria, 171 quid. Now that is hefty to start with, but considering seats were originally going via FIFA for around 471 quid, how gutted would you be if you sat in the Jordan home end there and you looked at the fella on your left and he's made a 300 quid saving on you for no real reason, for no discernible reason.
Should have checked Trivago.
All right,
Yeah.
Jurgen.
Yeah. He could have been another one. Him and David Beckham don't half like a pound. They
I
are
tell you
one.
what, David Beckham must be allergic to a second take, mustn't he? Because some of his performances, they can only be one take wonders.
How is he still relevant for advertising?
I saw it the week.
Don't get it.
He got given a Hollywood stone on the Walk of Fame last week.
I just, who does he appeal to when you go, Beckham likes that coffee. I'll buy that then. I just don't get it.
But the thing is well, for a flying fact that he wouldn't be drinking a pint of Stella Artois. It just doesn't. Oh, aye. Anyway, the big one. This is the one you were all asking me. Andrew, can you help us get tickets for Congo versus Uzbekistan? Sorry, lads, I've not been able to come through. because I didn't have the spare 266 quid.
Bloody hell.
I mean, these are like via official FIFA outlets, and unfortunately, it varies. So you might look at it one day and think, "Oh, do you know what? I can afford that 266 quid." So you go away and make your travel arrangements, go back to buy your ticket, and because of dynamic or variable pricing, the amounts jumped up. It's wrong on so many levels. Scotland versus Haiti. To be fair to the Scottish FA, I think most associations do get given a small batch of tickets to sell direct to members and fans who have been going to games regularly, putting in the hard yards and going to qualifiers and what have you. But in a stadium in Boston that holds 65,000, the Scottish FA, who did try and give as much information as possible to fans, they were given an official allocation of 3,889. How is that going to create an atmosphere in the ground of passion and genuine support? If you're not part of that initial 4,000 and you're one of the Tartan Army and you want to tick off your bucket list of seeing Scotland in a World Cup game, you've got to go into this wider market where you're just able to be fleeced. You'll pay anything. You could be sat next to a tourist. You could be sat next to somebody who's been dragged in off the street. The whole ticketing management and particularly the pricing is really, really left a sour taste. Straight away, the second game in, you had that mad situation in the South Korea game where they've announced that officially it was a full house. This is in Mexico, by the way, which is like a football mad country. You think people would be desperate to go. And yet we can see with our own eyes that there's swathes of empty seats. And FIFA's reasoning for that was folk were in the concourses.
There must be some big concourses, mind.
Aye.
We should get them installed at the Stadium of Light. It'd be much easier to go for away at half time.
What was the game like? Oh, I don't know. I was just in the concourses for 3 hours.
Especially when you've spent that much.
Aye.
So you spend that much and don't actually watch what you paid for.
Yeah. It's staggering. I listened to a thing on BBC Sound. Some people were at that game against Paraguay that I mentioned, and they were saying, it was very noticeable in the crowd that there was like no young people, no families. It was all older, wealthier types in the ground, and that's fine. They've got every right to be there. But where's that mix? Where's that passion? Where's the person who was able to get an affordable ticket, went to a World Cup game, and then got a passion and decided in 20 years' time, I'm going to play in the World Cup. I'm going to dedicate my life to football. It's really, really distressing to me. This is how serious it is. We're being told already that the attorney generals of New York and New Jersey have launched investigations into ticket pricing due to allegations of artificially inflating prices and misleading fans. So these are local authorities in America going after FIFA. When has that had to happen before?
Do you know how corrupt you've got to be to get Americans to come after you for trying to scalp people for ticket prices?
Yeah.
Can you comprehend the level they must be operating on?
They've had evidence seemingly of people who paid for one category of seat, but then when their tickets have turned up, they've been put in lower categories, which just so happen to be in view of the main camera angles. Don't know if that's got anything to do with it. I'm sure that's just coincidence. And this is the bit that got me. It's the fact that they don't even have the decency to try and pull the wool over our eyes. Infantino himself has said, listen lads, listen lasses, I know you're annoyed, but don't worry because these prices, according to him, are appropriate for the North American market. So that's fine.
That's all right then.
This is a World Cup. So you want fans coming from all over the world. So you should have that in mind. If you can't find a host that's going to price it accordingly and that can't overrule local factors, and that's another bugbear of mine. In the past, FIFA would say, we are taking over lock, stock and barrel. We are coming here. We dictate to you what taxes, blah, blah, blah. And the benefit to you is the good PR. FIFA in this instance haven't got that influence. You know, they're being told, oh, you can't have this referee because of our immigration rules or what have you. If you're not able to offer a venue where the people needed and welcome, that sets alarm bells for me. Surely you shouldn't be interested in hosting the tournament in the first place. But anyway, sorry, I've been distracted by myself there. The prices are the thing that gets me, Chris. I can't get my head around them.
Yeah. And just to bring it slightly back to England, actually, because I was reading an article from the other day, and it says for England's opener against Croatia, there's apparently still hundreds of tickets available, according to what I'm reading, with the cheapest reportedly costing an eye-watering £648 to watch England play Croatia in a group game. And the other thing I read was talking about train tickets as well. You're talking about prices of tickets, of train tickets as well. That apparently there was outrage when they initially announced that a train ticket would cost £111. Well, the UK English supporters thought that was quite cheap compared to what they pay. They shrugged their shoulders and went, "What? It's off the price. We'll pay it back home." Well, I think the rest of the world was outraged at how much the Americans put that up. But I was going to read from Gianni Infantino as well, the FIFA president, because of course everything's been and there was a bit of a testy press conference just before the World Cup kicked off. I noticed as well. If he didn't like the tone of a few questions from the BBC, I noticed, but he said, if you sell it at a lower price point in this particular market, it would have gone, which is perfectly legal in this country, in secondary markets at much, much, much higher prices. And where would the money go then? Then he says, well, to those who organise secondary markets or black market activities and not to football. If we're doing something wrong, then probably everyone selling tickets in North America is doing something wrong as well. Now, Andrew, just to put this across to just in terms of where it is, because you're talking about it being the host. Now, I don't know where the power lies here. Could FIFA turn around and say, nope, look, we're doing a family ticket for $50. We're doing tickets for, under 16s for $10. I mean, could they just go, no, it's our tournament, we're setting the price?
My understanding is that in the past they had much more influence on things. And listen, I understand this is a big business and they're not going to listen to some bloke in Fulwell, smoking a roll up saying, "Here, you should charge this." I know it's more complicated than that.
Open the pubs, then I'll be bothered.
yeah. But did you say 600 and odd for the England-Croatia game, the price?
According to what I'm reading, £648.
For a group game, and bearing in mind, group games now don't have the same do or die feeling attached to them because of the format of this tournament. 600 and odd quid, that's my season ticket paid for, I think. Maybe not, but it's
there or thereabouts.
Yeah, it's in that ballpark. So for one game of football, you could be getting a season's worth of Premier League action, which arguably could be of a higher standard. And yeah, going back to your original point there, Chris, I do think FIFA, the World Cup should be a privilege to host. So if FIFA are saying, yes, we'll host it in these countries, they should be able to use that power they've got and say, but it's on our terms. And yeah, we want to have a family deal where two parents and two kids get in for this amount of money. And also, crucially, you know that beforehand. You know that when you go onto the website and you enter your details, you know how much you're going to be charged. Not, oh, do you know what? If I'd got these tickets when I was on my dinner instead of 2 hours later, I would have saved X amount of money. And the resale business there, I mean, again, they don't even give us the decency of. It's almost as if they're laughing in our faces, talking about like, oh, these dodgy crooks and all these people running these dodgy sites. We've got no confidence that FIFA are going to use the money correctly, but they themselves run secondary websites.
Yeah.
So what's the problem there?
Yeah. I was reading that, but well, actually, just quickly on that point about hosts, it winds me up that Mexico have hosted the World Cup now 3 times since England have hosted the World Cup in '66, which is unbelievable.
But they can't even do that properly because the Azteca doesn't have any games past the round of 16.
Yeah.
An absolute cathedral of football, but the MetLife Stadium in New Jersey gets the final, and the Aztecas gathering dust from the quarterfinal onwards.
Yeah.
Did I, on that subject, Chris, I believe I read at the weekend America are considering putting in a bid to host again in the 2030s or something like that. So your point about like, why is England having to miss out? I mean, England, without wanting to sound biased, is just set up perfectly because of the size of the country, the quality of the stadiums. It's ready-made.
Well,
In America.
I would well, we can get into that. Potentially
Yeah.
shot ourselves slightly in the foot by our handling of the Euros final and everyone charging the gates and all of that and all of that sort of stuff. And then
Chris, I've apologised for that.
And
It
then
was
in
the first time I've done that in a while. I got a bit ahead of myself.
Yeah, you shouldn't have stuck that firework where you stuck it, mate. But, but anyway. But talking about the resale as well, I mean, like you said, I was just reading Jordan against Algeria. It was originally on for 470 quid. And then because the demand dropped, you could then buy them on FIFA's own resale site for 170 quid. So it dropped 300 quid. But the other thing just about this, Andrew, I was thinking when you were talking, this is one of the pitfalls, I think, about awarding a World Cup to a nation so many years prior to the World Cup, because it put someone like Donald Trump, it puts him in a position where the likes of FIFA haven't really got a bargaining position, because he can turn around and say, well, because it wasn't a decision made under his, or maybe it was the first time around, I can't remember. Maybe it was, I can't remember, but it was way back when. So then he's in a position where if he's an arse about it later on, he can turn around and say, okay, well, actually, I'm changing the terms of the deal. And FIFA can go, well, actually, it's too late in the day for us to go to any other nations and get them to organise a World Cup. So actually, we have to do what they say. And Infantino doesn't want to lose friends, around the world, because he's thinking about his career after FIFA. If it ends, he might just be like Blatter and be president for the next 50 years or whatever it is. But yeah, so by doing that, they put themselves in a position where they're beholden to the host nation like that, aren't they?
Yeah, and that's one of the key issues in all of this. FIFA are beholden to a country which has other issues going on. Now, they're entitled to have their issues and manage. I mean, it is a democracy. Trump was voted in, whether I agree with it or not, and he is allowed to manage his political affairs as he sees fit and as he thinks the electorate want.
Well, as he says himself, actually,
But-
the American elections are rigged, aren't they? As he says himself.
Well, I'm skirting around things as best I can and trying to keep us out of bother. But yeah, there's even as I'm saying it's a democracy and what have you. I think he only got about 24% of the vote. I could be wrong on that. But yeah, your point, Chris, is bang on. By allowing FIFA, by getting into bed with certain individuals or certain politicians the football, the tournament itself is being negatively impacted. A World Cup should be an amazing thing, which brings communities together and inspires people and leaves countries the better for it. Whereas this one, it just seems every day there's another story where somebody is either being ripped off financially or being belittled or disrespected or being discriminated against. And it's such a shame. As a little kid, the idea to me that in future years, I wouldn't even know exactly what day the World Cup starts or when England's first game is would just seem mad. But I'm just so upset by it and so tired of it all. I've lost a huge chunk of interest and that's me, somebody who loves football. How's the game gonna keep its amazing atmosphere and rawness and passion if you're upsetting millions of people like that across the globe by taking them for granted?
Well, we're not going to remember it as a fantastic World Cup if half the stands are empty, are we? But yeah, I mean, just to bring you in on it, Jonny, just to get your 2 pence worth on this World Cup, because the other thing I was thinking about was the other day, they were delaying the restart of a game, watching on the side of the pitch for the commercials to finish on the TV, weren't they?
I hate to say it, but that's Americans for you, isn't it? You know, if they can insert adverts into something, they will. And if they can, you know, manipulate anything to bring a bit more financial benefit, they will. It is part of their culture. You know, that's something that they value highly, is the ability and the freedom, they would argue, you know, to be able to advertise and to make money and, you know, it's entrepreneurial spirit or whatever. I would like to see it divorced from, you know, the greatest game that the world's ever seen as much as possible. So I'm not a big hydration break fan. You'll not be shocked to find out. But just to be adversarial for a minute and pretend we are against each other here, I will just point out Andrew brought up ticket prices, and we've now gone on to hydration breaks, Donald Trump, and you know, many other aspects of unsavory things around the World Cup, which I agree with all of them, but they're not his point that he actually brought up. All right, but I will also say I also agree with Andrew where I'm like, I can't argue with what he said at all because he's spot on. Like, the ticket pricing has been an absolute disgrace. You know, Infantino should be tried at The Hague for crimes against football. He is a horrendous individual. I don't know if anyone's seen that clip of him trying to take a corner. He literally can't even play football. And this is the guy running football. It's a joke. He doesn't even know how to kick a ball, and he's in charge of exporting the game around the world. The ticket pricing is a total disgrace, and the bit that makes me laugh the most about it, so you touched on it a little bit, but FIFA talking about the secondary markets, they take 30% commission from resale websites that they have agreements with. So, as you said, Andrew, the tout market, basically, FIFA is taking 30% cut from all of the sales on there. There were some tickets for latter stage games that were on sale on these websites for as much as $45,000. 45 grand for one ticket to one football match. Now, obviously, that's the totally extreme top end of it, but I saw for certain games where obviously they've split the tickets into the different categories, you know, category 1's your prime seats or whatever, all the way down to category 5, I think it goes down to. Some of the category 1 tickets were going for 9 grand for group games. Some of the category 3 tickets were going in the multiples of thousands of dollars. It's legalized racketeering is what it is. I mean, let's just call a spade a spade. And all of this from the point of view of FIFA as an organization, which is a non-profit organization. So FIFA, you know,
that's the best joke we've told on this.
You know what I mean? Yeah, you know what I mean? You can't write it, can you? Like, you couldn't make up a more comically and obviously deranged scenario than a non-profit organisation tasked with growing the game being involved in legalised touting and taking a 30% cut of 40 grand tickets. Like, yeah, I couldn't agree more with you, Andrew. The whole thing's just a sham from top to bottom. And it's a shame because, as with every World Cup, the football eventually will do the talking, and it will be a great tournament, I'm sure. Like, from a football point of view, you know, because football is unruinable as a product because the game itself is what makes it good. So once it gets to the quarters, the semis, and the final, the drama will kick in, and everyone will be engrossed, and you know, France and Spain will go to penalties or something like that, and everyone will be, oh, what an amazing game. And that's great, but it's a shame that it's all going to leave such a sour taste in the mouth because of all this what's going on around it. Same with Qatar, you know, greatest World Cup final of my lifetime, but unfortunately, you know, a lot of people died building the stadium, so it's difficult to separate the two things. And same thing here, you know, but seeing the governing body of the sport that we all love just turning around and openly taking the piss out of the people who are what makes football what it is. It's, you know, it's a crying shame, but is where we are in 2026, isn't it?
Yeah, we'll delay putting this episode out until, you know, the quarterfinals and the semi-finals when everyone's getting excited, and we'll put a right downer on it on the whole thing.
Yeah,
But,
Jonny and Andrew hate football.
yeah, yes. Yeah, well, I was going to say anyway, we should really stop the, you know, how we're the podcast's weekly promotion of international relations because we're just kind of ruining them all. But look, it's time to see what's going into Room 101 from that those World Cup special picks in part one. And there's a first time for everything because both are going into Room 101. How can I not put the British media into Room 101? And actually, it was interesting. I was just thinking as well about the British media. There was some pretty horrific stories, you know, talking about, I think Gaza was in the news being interviewed very recently. And there was some stories about how they used to get Gaza to do things or picture him in places and just generally get him into trouble and generally make his life worse and make his problems worse. So look, how can I not put the British media into Room 101? And how can I not put the ridiculous ticket prices into Room 101 either? And while we're at it, we'll chuck FIFA in there as well, I reckon, gents. So we're off to
fine by me.
We're off to a great start, gentlemen. We've chucked one of the biggest institutions in the world into Room 101. So I think that's a pretty successful podcast. But it is the end of part one. So just leaving it to say thank you very much to Andrew and to Jonny for their time and their passion about the things they absolutely hate, because I couldn't stop either of them going into Room 101. But thanks again, everyone, for listening. Look, we'll have 2 more rounds in part 2, and we've got a couple of really controversial picks coming up on the next part that I'm not sure whether I'm looking forward to getting into or not. We'll have to wait and see. But that's all for part 2. So until then, it's bye for now.